Hello and welcome to Nithrania YouTube channel. You're watching another episode from the Game in a Nutshell series designed for explaining the board game rules. My name is Baroness, and in this video we're going to learn how to play the expansion to Lost Ruins of Arnak, and the expansion is called Expedition Leaders, published by Czech Games Edition. Let's take a look at the new components first. All the components shown here can be added to the base game. These are 5 level 1 sites, 3 level 2 sites, 5 new guardians, new items, new artifacts, plus 3 new assistants and 4 idols. However, the stone key artifact, together with this specific assistant, replace those from the base game, which means the old stone key and the old assistant can be completely removed from the game permanently. These new versions have been rebalanced. All new components in the game have this specific symbol somewhere on them, and you can find the same symbol at the bottom of the cards as well. Then there are 6 leaders together with the new leader cards, and I'm going to talk about these leaders in the first part of the video. And there's also a new double-sided research track, which can be used instead of the track which is pre-printed on the game board. And I'm going to cover these research tracks in the second part of the video. For the most part, the setup of the game is the same as with the base game, but there are 2 exceptions. Once you place all the idols on the game board, you will have 4 leftover idols, which you can return back to the box, or if you play with the new research track, you may need them later in the game. And second, these assistant stacks had 4 tiles in each stack. With the expansion, each stack will have 5 tiles. One last note, these leaders and research tracks are independent, so you can play the game with the leaders but without the new research tracks, or vice versa, you can play with the new research tracks but without the leaders. But note that the new research tracks are slightly more difficult. They are designed to be played with the new leaders. If you play the game without the research tracks but with the leaders, the standard research tracks may be easier. On the other hand, if you don't use the leaders but only use the new research track, this may be a little more difficult than the standard game. So, when playing with the leaders, each player chooses one of the leaders, and you can choose any method you want. You can also use these tokens to assign those leaders randomly to each player. And some of these leaders are easier to play than others. They are listed in the rulebook from the easiest one to play to the most difficult. After you choose the hero, you can choose any color you want, but replace these 4 basic cards with the 4 starting cards of the chosen hero, and of course you will still need those 2 fear cards. And to indicate your color, take one of these tents, which is also a component from the expansion, and then use the archaeologist from the base game. Some leaders have a special setup rules. In this case, you will also need a 3rd archaeologist. And then there's one more new rule, which is common to all new leaders. And those are these blue idol effects. If you gain any idols, remember you may always place them in these slots and then take the benefits shown on the left side. And in the base game, you have to place these idols in this exact order. When playing with these leaders, you don't have to place them in this order. You may place them in any order you want, but if you place the idol on this blue space, you may also use the special effect over here. Obviously, when you place the idol in this slot, you may also use any other standard effect, but only when you place it in the blue slot, you may use this blue effect. So let's talk about the captain first. When you choose the captain, you get 1 additional archaeologist, which works exactly like other archaeologists of your color. Then, when you use the effect of this basic card, the effect of that card depends on how many of those archaeologists are already placed on the game board. If you have no archaeologist on the game board yet, you may not use that card. If one of them is on the game board, you can take a coin. If 2 of them are on the game board, you may either take the compass or the coin, and if you would have placed all of them on the game board, you can choose any of those effects. Then this hidden fear card cannot be played for its effect. However, if you manage to exile it, you gain a fear card and the compass. And finally, as one of your main actions, you can choose one of the available archaeologists and place him on this space. And with that, as this icon indicates, you can use the effect of one of these silver assistants still on the supply board. This archaeologist remains here for the remainder of the round and cannot be moved by any effect, and it's also not counted as the placed archaeologist on the game board. You get him back at the end of your round as usual. When you choose the Falconer, take this Falcon token and place it on the starting space of this short track. When you use this card for an effect, you can choose the effect based on how many guardians you have overcome already, and it works in the exact same way as with the captain. Now, your eagle. At the start of each round, including the round 1, the eagle moves one space on this track. When you use the effect with the falcon symbol on this card or on this one, you may also move it one space forward on this track, and instead of using this boon effect of the guardian, you may flip that guardian and instead of the effect, just move the falcon one space forward. The same applies if you take the idle effect with this blue bar. You may also move it one space forward. If it's on the last space, it may not move any further. Then anytime on your turn, you can use the effect of the current space where the token is located or any previous space, and when you do, return the token back to the starting space. These first two spaces are immediate effects, these are main actions. The token doesn't return to its starting space at the start of each round. It remains in the current space until you use the effect of the token. When you choose the Baroness, as part of the setup, as shown over here, place one coin next to round 2, 3, 4 and 5. At the start of these rounds, you also take the coin. So the Baroness has some sort of the regular income. Then the Baroness always starts the round with this special delivery card in her hand, as indicated with these icons here. So take the special delivery card first and then draw up to 5 cards in your hand. The reason why this card has a different back is that it will always be in your hand at the start of the round. Even if you exile the card, it will come back to your hand at the start of the round. Only then you will draw up to 5 cards. When you use it for its effect, when you buy an item, the item goes directly into your hand. And don't overlook the fact that 2 of your starting cards have the airplane icon as the travel value. When you play with the Professor character, draw top 3 cards from the artifact deck and place them next to your player board. Also take this suitcase token. Similar to Baroness, place compass and tablet tokens next to round 2, 3, 4 and 5. At the start of those rounds, as those icons indicate, there is a compass on the suitcase, which means you take that compass token from the game board and you place it on your suitcase. The same applies to these tablets, they also go to your suitcase. The compass tokens in the suitcase can only be used to buy artifacts. You may not use them for anything else. These tablets can only be used to pay the cost of your artifact when you play that artifact from your hand. Again, they cannot be used for anything else. Then, when you take the buy an artifact action, you may buy them in a standard way from the game board, or you can buy one of the artifacts from the archive. When you do, don't refill your archive. When the archive gets empty for the first time in the game, as indicated here, gain 1 compass to your suitcase and refill your archive with the top 3 cards from the artifact deck. You only do this once per game. And finally, when you play this card for its effect, you count how many artifacts you have in the play area. So not in your draw deck, not in the archive, not in your hand, only in your play area. When playing with the Explorer, first, you will only use one archaeologist, leave the other one in the box, but you will take these 3 snack tokens, place the first 2 snack tokens on these spaces at the start of the game, and place the third one on the space 3 of the card row, and at the start of that third round, you will take that token, place it on your player board and have it available for the remainder of the game. The Explorer has 2 special starting cards, Cartography and Hike. To activate such cards, you need to place one of the snack tokens on that card, and then you can activate the effect of that card. In this example, you may activate any basic site, so those are these ones, whether they are occupied or not. And with this effect, again, after placing a snack token on it, you may take a tablet and activate one face-up idol on the game board. So, for example, one of these ones. So you can only use each snack token once per round, and it remains in your play area even if the card itself would be exiled, for example. All those snack tokens are returned back to their position on your player board at the end of the round. Even though you only have one archaeologist, you may use it multiple times per round. If it's on your player board, you can place it on the game board according to the standard rules. So you can take the dig action or discover a new site action and so on. Then if you want to reuse that archaeologist, you can do it on any of your subsequent turns. Take one of the snack tokens and pay the indicated cost. Here it's 1 coin, here 1 compass token, this one is for free. Place that token on the current side and flip it to the other side. And then you can move to a new site to discover a new site or dig at a site, paying the standard travel cost. When you leave the site with the Guardian, you don't gain the fear card. When you use another snack token and move your archaeologist to another site, you may never move back to the site with the snack token. You must move to another site. That also applies to basic sites with 2 spaces for archaeologists. Once you have the snack token there, you may never move back to the same site. All other players ignore those snack tokens. Those tokens don't occupy the spaces. It is as if they would not even be there. You can use your snack tokens in any order you want, and they come back to your player board at the end of the round. And finally, when you decide to play with the Mystic, it's the most difficult character to play. At the start of every round, when you draw up to 5 cards in your hand, always take additional fear card from the game board. So you start each round with 6 cards in hand. Since your starting cards and also the effects of these idle slots have the exile symbols, you will have an easier time exiling the fear cards, and when you do, you place them on this space on your player board. This space is called the ritual pile. You will not get any negative victory points at the end of the game for the cards on this ritual pile, and you can use them for rituals. Each of your 4 starting cards have this exile effect, so when you exile this card, you can perform a ritual. The ritual is the main action. You must choose one of these available rituals, then discard the corresponding number of fear cards from the ritual pile, and then perform the effect. With this one, when you return 2 fear cards to the fear deck, you gain 1 coin and 1 compass. When you return 3 fear cards, you may buy an artifact with a discount of 3 compasses, and when you return 4 fear cards, you may overcome a Guardian, but only a Guardian on a site you occupied. However, you don't have to pay the cost. Then you have 5 idle slots instead of the 4, and when you use an idle slot with the fear icon, you immediately gain a fear card in your play area. If you then use the effect which uses this exile icon, you may immediately exile that card and place it in your ritual pile. In this section of the video, we will talk about the new research tracks. To use the new research track, simply overlay it on the track which is printed on the game board. And the designers recommend to use the site with the snake temple, simply because this side of the game board has more interesting travel costs on sites. There are 2 common features for both new research tracks. First are these travel costs on some of the advances. You pay these costs using the standard rules. Second, these temple icons. If your magnifying glass is in the row with this temple icon, instead of advancing on the research track, you may actually buy these temple tiles right from this row of the research track. You may only buy the bronze tile, paying the standard cost. If your magnifying glass advances to this row with this icon, instead of advancing on the research track, you may buy directly the bronze tiles or the silver temple tiles. Note that the gold tile can only be purchased from the top row. To prepare the bonus tiles in these spaces, use the same setup rules as in the base game, so one face down tile per player, and the player who reaches the space will look through the tiles, choose one of those tiles and return the remaining ones secretly back to the same space. Technically there is one tile per player, however, if you reach the same space even with your notebook token and there are still some tokens remaining, you take additional token from that pile. Then, as indicated with these icons, at the start of the game, place a random artifact in this space that costs exactly 3 compasses. Place that artifact card face up. At this artifact row, as indicated with these icons, your magnifying glass can only move up using this path on the research track, and your notebook token may only progress using this path. The notebook token can even progress to this space even though the magnifying token is still on the artifact. Now, when you reach the artifact with the magnifying token, you immediately activate the effect on the artifact without paying the tablet. This artifact never leaves this space, it is as if it was printed on the board. You may also notice some new icons in these effects, you can find their description in the rulebook. Then, when using this side of the research track, first place a random guardian tile face down on this space, and take those 4 leftover idle tokens and place them next to this space on the research track. Then, as soon as someone's magnifying glass reaches the space with the guardian, flip it face up, and on some of your subsequent turns, you may use the main action to overcome that guardian, paying the cost. Your research tokens, whether the magnifying glass or the notebook token, work as the archaeologist on the guardian tile, so if you have any effect that lets you kill the guardian or overcome the guardian for no cost, you can use that effect. No player's token may advance beyond the guardian until that guardian is overcome. And if the guardian has not been overcome until the end of the round, you gain 1 fear card for each of your tokens in this space. Then, when the notebook token reaches this row on this research track, you may activate 1 unoccupied level 1 site, which means you get all the rewards from that site, and then the volcano erupts. Return the site tile, and even with the guardian if there would be any, back to the box. They're removed from the game. Then take the top tile from the stack of these idols and place it face up on the site. That means that the location is now available for another Discover New Site action. One last note, in order to advance through this space, to pay this cost, you have to pay the idle token from your player board that is not in these slots. Return it back to the box. And finally, if you want to see more cards during the game, your group can agree to play with this Red Moon Staff variant, which exiles not just one item and artifact which are closest to the Moon Staff at the end of the round, it actually exiles 2 of them. Then refill the display using the standard rules, so when using this method you will see more cards during the course of the game. So that's how we play the expansion to the Lost Ruins of Arnak game called Expedition Leaders. If you have any questions or comments, I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. If you like the series, please subscribe. You can even support the channel on the Patreon page. My name is Branislav Berec. You've been watching Game in a Nutshell and hope to see you next time. I would like to thank everyone who has ever supported the channel, and especially the current supporters listed on this page. If you too would like to support the channel in creation of videos like this and other video tutorials and other content on this channel, please visit the patreon.com/Nithrania.